consistency in your strike, distance, they're related to how you're using the ground. You hear this all the time, but specifically, what are you thinking about? I don't want you thinking about your feet. What I want you to think about is what's going on with your shins. Now, before I get into this, I want to remind you to like and subscribe to the channel. Make sure to tell your buds about what we've got going on here. So, when I'm hitting a golf ball, if my shins are moving towards the strike line here, my lower body is going to put my rear over my heels, and as a result, my upper body will stand up. And when that happens, now the club is going to take alternative paths. It's not going to have a consistent path. And the low point of the strike will move. So if we call it early extension, but really what creates the early extension? It's how our shins are moving. If they're moving towards the strike line, my rear goes underneath my upper body. The path of the club is going to come underneath, and all of a sudden, I'm going to bottom out too soon, stand the shaft of the golf club up, be face reliant, or it gets ugly. What I want you to think about is what you're doing with your shins and how they should work as they come through the golf ball, okay? Now, what I've got here is a little thing that I've kind of created. And what I want you to do when you get set up to hit this, and Gibbsy, if you would, go to a down the line here. So I've got this set up to where this line right here is parallel to this and parallel to the strike line. And what I'm going to do is set this in my 6-iron position. When I look down from my eyes, when I look down, and you can see it here, this bar right now is roughly over the balls of my feet. That's as close as I would want to get to the bar. I don't want the bar to be that close to my shins as I'm moving through, because the knees are going to move a little bit, the shins are going to move a little bit, but it is shin high. So I set that bar just over the balls of my feet here. Now what I want to do when I swing is I want to be able to move without hitting this bar. So as I pivot in the backswing, this lead knee does not touch that. And then when I come through, my trail knee will move inside that, and I'll have enough space so that when I put my toe, when I get on my toe, my trail foot, that my calf is inside that bar. Not an easy thing to do, and certainly something that requires a little bit of work. So, and you can see, now I didn't hit that hard, but what you're going to see is it actually goes straight. The ball starts on the line that I want, and it continues on the line that I want. And so that ball there is a ball that's easy to follow, easy to chase. You're not gonna have to go looking in the woods and take your hat off and start searching around and doing it. You're going to be in a good spot. And that golf ball will also end up on the green. The contact point is in the center of the club face there. So now I have a predictability in the launch angle. I have a predictability of the apex, and also, too, more importantly, how far it's going to go. This is a 6-iron that I'm hitting here. Right now, in trying to learn the feel of how that shin movement is going to affect my body, right? So now when my shin is doing this, my hips are going to stay deep, which means my shoulders can stay out here, and all of a sudden I maintain my spine angle as I come through here. So there's no alteration to the angle of my back. There will be no alteration to the path of the golf club as it comes into that strike, okay? And I would always, when you set this, always verify the position of that bar. So when I get set up, I go, okay, that's over the balls of my feet. Now when I rotate here and I rotate here and here, I'm not going to hit it. So now I have that verification. And now I'm going to go slowly. And again, that golf ball there starts right down the line and didn't move off that line. That ball literally doesn't go much straighter. I don't know, Greg, whether we can put a trace on that or not, but there's not a lot of curve in that shot. And what you're going to start to sense is how the lead knee is not slamming itself towards the bar. So if you go face on here, Gibbsy, if I make a backswing and my lead knee goes right towards the ball, I'm going to hit this bar right here. And I'm never going to load the trail heel. And I'm never going to get the distance that I want. So when I have that there now, this knee moves inside, and now there's space in here, roughly a couple inches. And so when I'm there, I now have loaded, it has got my hips deep enough to where I've loaded the trail heel. And now when I start to come down, if this trail knee now moves towards that, now I'm going to stand up. So what will happen is when I move in, my hips go towards the target. My upper body has to stand up. The path of the club is underneath. But when that shin starts to move along that and I go forward, now all of a sudden I have plenty of space in there and I don't have to stand up. So I'm not early extending. I'm in my spine angle. Now, where it really gets fun is when you start moving with some speed. And again, you got to verify everything. You always have to verify it because you will sometimes hit this and you want to make sure you know exactly how to position. I think one of the most important things for you to understand how to get better is A, you need a drill, and B, you need to be meticulous in how you set this up. So that bar is right over the top of the balls of my feet there. I've got the ball positioned exactly where I want it. The weight is distributed properly in my feet. And now when I go through here, I'm going to move with some speed. Now when I move with some speed, this one here, a very, very good solid strike. And certainly, again, as you're starting to swing, what you're going to find is that your awareness is much greater, your focus is much greater on what's going on down here than what's going on with the strike. And you'll all of a sudden go, wow, that was pretty good. And then you start working on this. And this is something that you can do. You build yourself a little contraption like this, little PVC pipe, easy for you to build. Now, what we do is we get used to swinging without that bar there. So we get set up. Imagine that bar is there. And that literally is almost identical to what I just did. Now look, I like to cut the golf ball. So what will happen to me is I'll get the strike that I want and I'll get the curve that I'm looking for. So Gibbsy, if you show that up there again, I set up right at the target and I was playing my swing, which is a cut swing. So now I have the movement that I want out of everything. Now I got to do is just make sure I aim properly. So now I'm going to set up a little bit to the left side and do the exact same swing. And now my golf ball is going to start down the left-hand side, and now it's going to fade back to the target. You can see that little eyeball there in the fairway, and then wait there for just a second because what you're going to see is this shot pull up, and that's exactly what I've created. Is I've created my curve, which I like is start left, fade right. And one of the things that you're going to find is that you're going to have much more predictable distance, much more predictable shot shape. The apex on that one, and again, I'm not swinging as hard as I can. That ball speed's only at 112. I'm typically going to get up to 116, 117. But that's what I'm expecting to see out of my shot. An 18-degree launch, about 1.5 degrees to 2 degrees start to the left, and then it spins back to the right-hand side. And as I go a little bit faster and a little bit faster and a little bit faster, all of a sudden, I start getting the distance that I want. But the strike is really solid. And the apex, the predictability, all that stuff you will find. Work on what's going on with your shins, making sure that they're working along that target line, not towards the target line. And when that starts to take place, that's where you're going to find the consistency in that strike and the predictability in both the distance that the ball is going and with the driver maxing out the distance. I'm telling you, it's one of the best drills that you can do, one of the most important things in your golf game to get you to that consistency that you seek. To improve all parts of your game, subscribe to my channel and click the link below.